Today on the podcast, we're talking about how you cannot be selfish. And yep, you heard it. I called people selfish in today's episode. So tune in for more and to celebrate this amazing milestone of 2 years and 3 seasons together with me. Welcome to the Fierce Authenticity Podcast. I'm your hostess, Sharani M. Batak, and I teach you how to have amazing relationships by doing one simple thing: dismantling supremacy culture's internalized oppression and conditioning. Be sure that you've hit subscribe to the podcast and come on over and join me in my private newsletter community, where I have a collection of specially curated tools to get you started. Simply visit www.sharanimbatak.com/connect to get started. Welcome back to the podcast. Today is our final episode of season 3, and there's a part of me that cannot believe it, and another part of me that is like, wow, this has been a very long season. This is episode 32. There is a part of me that wanted to go to 33 episodes so that we could say we had 33 episodes. Who knows? Maybe I'll throw in a bonus next week. But this is just wow. We have been dancing together in this space since we came back in September of 2021. And now here we are, June of 2022. Essentially, it has been an entire school year that we have been together. 9 months of learning, healing, growing. And today's episode is extra special because today is also the second anniversary of the podcast. This podcast, Fierce Authenticity, turns 2 years old today. And that is just something so special in and of itself. I mean, I knew that I had a podcast living inside of me for several years, and I dragged my feet and I procrastinated, which today I look back on and I can say, you know what? It just wasn't ready. It was an idea that was still in the oven and it just wasn't ready yet. And when the moment came, I have shared this before and I will share it again, that when the moment came, the downloads were so strong that they just poured out of me. I think I recorded about 6 episodes the first day that I was like, it's time. I had been gestating this baby. And then when I got the universal green light, when it was like, all right, this baby's ready to be born, I downloaded, and by that I mean the divine download, I divinely downloaded the first 6 episodes of the podcast and just put them out there. And they were just amazing. A combination back then of longer episodes and shorter love notes is what I used to call them. And although love notes are no longer a part of the main podcast, I do share them as a community perk. When you join my newsletter community, you get access to 14 love notes that I haven't shared publicly. And those are just for members of my community. And those love notes were these short 3 to 5 minute healing meditations where you could just listen and place a hand on your heart and place a hand on your belly and soften and feel the medicine coming through. And they partnered with every episode. And that's where we started. That is how the podcast started. And then I remember my very first guest, which is still one of my favorite episodes, with Dr. B. Nilaja Green, where we spoke about intergenerational trauma. And there's so much medicine, like you listen to it, and I still feel this way, that it is a healing salve. It is just soothes over my heart and soul and lets me know, yes, this is the medicine. And since then, we have had so many other guests and several changes and pivots. And the one thing, however, that has always remained constant is that this has been a space for us to come together and for us to heal all of the fuckery that we have been taught to believe for millennia, living under systems of supremacy, living under systems of oppression. That is what this podcast is here for. Because the truth is, my friend, you can change all of the external systems and structures that you want. If you are not changing the internal systems and structures, if you are not doing the work to heal and dismantle all of the ways that supremacy culture shows up inside of you and lives inside of your brain, your body, your behaviors, and your DNA, all of the ways that you replicate these patterns and these dynamics with yourself, then my friend, you can change all of the external structures that you want. It will not mean a damn thing. And here's the thing. My guest Nisha Modi and we spoke in season 2. I'm not sure if we spoke about it then, but I know that we spoke about it on her podcast when I was interviewed for her podcast. And then that podcast was reshared this past season, season 3 of the Fierce Authenticity podcast, where it was the reverse interview. Nisha interviews Sharani. And we spoke about it then that if we truly want to live in a world free from oppression, and we have to look at this from an anti-oppressive lens, in order for us to truly welcome the change, we have to do that work internally within ourselves. Because if systems out there change and then those changes are forced upon us, but we're not ready for them or we don't want them, then we are still engaging in oppressive practices. And so therefore, it is not going to do a damn thing. And one of the examples I had used back then is there's this homelessness crisis that we are facing that has just gotten worse over the last 2 years with the pandemic. And one of the things that I've noticed, having been trained as a social worker, is that a lot of people come in from the outside. All of these systems and structures, they come in from the outside and they try to tell, or they create policies and try to tell the unhoused individuals what they need to do or what programs they have created. And guess what? A lot of those programs fall flat, they fall short, and we still have a mass number of unhoused individuals here in the Bay Area, down in LA, in New York, I mean, across the country and maybe even the globe. I have not honestly looked into the numbers, but I know that this is a huge crisis here in the US. And I always have this conversation with my husband where I ask him, I wonder how many of these programs are actually inviting the unhoused communities, the homeless population. I wonder how many of these external programs and systems and structures are actually engaging the very people that these programs and policies and structures impact. Because of course, without that, we are continuing to further harm. We are perpetuating the harm. We are perpetuating the oppression. And so that is one example of how this works out and why it's so important that we do the work to heal internally within ourselves. And several of the topics that we have discussed on the podcast, I mean, come on, I didn't actually check how many episodes there are, but there are over 80 episodes. I am looking and, okay, I found the number I was looking for and 96. Actually, this episode makes 97. There are 97 episodes where I have shared so many topics that are important and relevant to us healing from the trauma of supremacy culture that we have internalized, that we then use to oppress ourselves and others in our relationships. And those topics that we've explored include everything from imposter syndrome to judgment, to criticism, to failure, to how we interact with each other in our relational fuckeries, which was another really fun episode. That one was with James Olivia Chu Hillman and is one of our top listened to episodes. And there's just so much that we have talked about, all of the ways that we're led to believe that we're not enough, we're not worthy enough, we're not valuable enough, all of the ways that we jump to the other side and then we believe that we're better than other people don't know what they're doing. I mean, there is just so much that we have talked about in the last 2 years and in these almost 100 episodes, 97 episodes is where we're at. And it's just amazing. Because as I was saying, I knew there was a podcast living inside of me, and I never thought that we would be here at 3 seasons, 2 years, and almost 100 episodes with over about 5,500 downloads. So that is another exciting experience, that there are 5,500 people in this world that have listened to this podcast and who have gotten the healing messages and the healing medicine that we share through here. And my friend, this is where I need to ask for your help and ask for your support, because 5,500 souls is beautiful and amazing. And we have more than 7 billion souls on this planet who need to be learning how to dismantle this internalized supremacy and oppression, who need to be healing from this. So what I am going to request that you do as a part of this celebration and as a part of this movement is to share this podcast with everybody you know. Anytime you listen to an episode, snap a screenshot, put it on your Instagram stories, put it on your Facebook, write a blog about it, write on Medium. I don't care what you do, but just share about this. And then, of course, rate and review, because the more you rate and review the podcast, the more all of the quote unquote gods of the algorithm put it out there and get it in front of more people. Because this, what we are dealing with, is a topic that is so pervasive that it does impact each and every single one of the 7+ billion souls that we have here on this planet. And so the fact that 5,500 souls have tuned in, yes, that is something for us to celebrate. And we need to truly do our part to get this message out to a bigger, broader audience so that they too can experience the healing and the miracles and the magic that is available here. And so I share that with you so that you can go out there and email your friends. Like I said, screenshot episodes, share them in your stories, post about it on LinkedIn, share it with family and friends. I mean, these are the ways that we get these messages out there. If you listen to the episodes or any of the episodes on imposter syndrome, share it with your closest persons that you know experience this. If you are tuning into the episodes about how to heal your heart, like with Sharika Chu, that was one of our guests this season, then share it with the people in your life that need to heal their heart. I mean, this is what we're here for. This is what we're doing. And I know that just by you listening, it is causing a ripple effect. And we need to create waves, my friend. That is what we are here to do. That is what we are here to create. And that is what we are here to do and to move. And so I really invite you, I am asking you to share this, not just for me, because yeah, that's great and all, but I am asking you to share this so that together we can all heal all of the pain and trauma that we have experienced as a humanity, as a shared human family. That is what I am asking you to do. And quite frankly, for you not to share this with the people in your life that could benefit from these messages, which again, PS is everybody, by you not sharing this, I'm going to invite you to consider that that is you doing a disservice to the people in your life that you love, that you care about. Because the truth is, when we love somebody, we share with them the things that are helpful and beneficial to us. We share with them, we say, hey, I heard this great thing about imposter syndrome and I wanted to pass it on to you. Hey, I heard this really great podcast about a different way to handle our relationships and I want to pass it on to you. Because by doing that, you are now spreading the healing power. You are spreading the healing message. You are spreading the healing medicine to people further beyond just you. And so I am going to say it. This is what's coming through, and I am going to say it. It is selfish if you do not share this podcast with the people in your life that you know are experiencing the things that we talk about here, which again, my friend, is everybody. And I never thought I would call people selfish, and here I did it on our 2-year anniversary episode on the closing of season 3. I said it. You are selfish if you do not share this healing medicine with every single person that you know. Of course, as it pertains to them. So when there are those topics, share them, because that is how you are going to help the people in your life that you care about, so that they too can heal and grow and dismantle these traumas and these effects of having lived for millennia under systems of oppression and supremacy. And then, of course, replicating and perpetuating that in their relationship with themselves and with others, and of course, with a source of something greater than us. And so it felt really important for me to share that with you. That had to come through. Again, I never thought that I would call you selfish or anybody that I work with selfish or share messages with. But that's how the download came today, and that is how it is going down. And this part wants to be shared before we head into a little bit more of the celebration. And the part that wants to be shared is, when I first started this podcast, it was within a week after the murder of brother George Floyd. And as I've shared previously in previous episodes, that truly set me on a path of healing my own internalized racial trauma. Everything that I had shoved into the side, into the corners, all of the parts of me that I had just shoved aside, put away, and didn't want to face with and deal with. And in an attempt to just assimilate so I wouldn't have to deal with it. And that experience truly, that was a reckoning. That was an uprising for us yet again to see the ways that we still devalue the lives of Black and brown bodies. And it's really important that we know that. And then, of course, Asian elder abuse came and violence against Asians came. And it's just been so insidious, all of this. And now, as we're closing up season 3 and 2 years, as we're celebrating the 2-year anniversary, it is quite disheartening to say that unfortunately, just a few weeks ago, we had yet another white supremacist massacre occur in Buffalo, New York, where a youth, I mean, he was a man, don't get me wrong, but he is still a youth and so impressionable, where he went out and terrorized a community of Black people and murdered more Black bodies. And so this work that we're doing here needs to continue, and we need to continue sharing it, because the fact that I started this podcast when there was one person who was murdered, of course, it wasn't just one. There had been a long line of Black bodies that had been murdered, especially by police brutality. So there was not just that one experience, but that is what triggered this healing experience for me. And that is what said, yes, do the podcast, do it now, start, go. And that was my divine green light to do it and just share all of the healing, all of the learning that I had been doing. And of course, that I've shared with you, that I've continued to do. And now here we are 2 years later, and we've experienced something that is equally horrific, and if not worse. And I share that to say, one, that we still have work to do in dismantling within ourselves. Of course, it is not your person. If you are a Black, brown, Asian, or other person of color, it is not your responsibility to be dismantling white supremacy. That is not your job at all, but it is your job to be healing from the effects of this, because whatever we don't heal, we replicate, we perpetuate. And as long as you have these unhealed traumas and wounds from living under systems of supremacy and oppression, you will continue to go out there and perpetuate harm, whether you know it or not. And as long as we're doing that, our world is going to continue looking like what I just described to you. And that is not okay. Oh, and don't even get me started with everything that is happening in Ukraine and Russia and Palestine and Syria and China, the Uyghurs in China. Don't even get me started. This is not just an America thing. This is a global thing, because supremacy culture through the thousands of years, 5,500 years, has not, there is no place left untouched by this insidious disease, the disease of supremacy and oppression. And so this is why we have to continue doing this. This is why it's vital for us to continue this work and for you to be sharing it. And with that said, I also want to say that as fucked up and as shitty as those situations are, it's also important that you know that this, in a way, is part of the healing. Part of the healing is that we go through a detox. And anytime we make movement towards healing, towards life, towards affirming our presence here and being in our humanity, there are the shadows in our psyche that try to pull us back into those old patterns and behaviors. It tries to pull us back in an attempt to hold on and to stay and keep us back there. So a part of why they're getting bigger and nastier and uglier is because what we are doing is working, and we need to keep doing this work, because the more and more of us that do this work and we reach a critical consciousness on this planet, that is what collapses the entire system from the inside out. So it's kind of this very both and situation that we're dealing with. Yes, it fucking sucks. And it's a sign that even though on the surface it looks like nothing is happening, underneath the surface, in the deepest depths of our human psyche, it is working. What we are doing is working. And the more we continue to do the work, and the more we continue to heal and dismantle this, and the more we continue to show up from a space of love, compassion, kindness, dignity, and respect, the more other people will feel it. And it will disengage their jacked up nervous systems so that they too may heal. And my friend, I am feeling complete here. I thought there was going to be more for me to share. And you know what? Just go back and look at all of the episodes that we've done so far to see the magic. Because for now, this is where the divine download is feeling complete. And this is where I want to leave you. So again, don't be selfish. Share this podcast and its healing messages with everybody you know, because somebody in your life is struggling with some topic, at least one, in this almost 100 episodes that we have already gone through in the last 2 years. And so don't be selfish, share this message, and continue to suit up and show up and do this work. And lastly, I want to let you know that we are now officially on summer break. We are going on break, and we will be back in the late summer, early fall. I'm thinking sometime in September we will be back. And in the meantime, I want to share with you that I have amazing plans for summer. So if you want to join summer school, summer school is just a cute little thing that came in. If you want to continue getting all of this juicy, yummy goodness and this medicine and this healing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Sharani M. Batak, and make sure that you are in our newsletter community, because I have already planned out what we're doing this summer, and I will be sharing a new series on Instagram Live, and I'll be trying to get them over on YouTube as well, like the YouTube Live. So I will be live streaming a series called Meditate with Me, where we are going to be talking about one topic and then going into a meditation around that topic. I have special invitations just for my community members that are in the newsletter community. So make sure you're signed up. That's SharaniMBatak.com/connect. Of course, all of the links are in the show notes. And also, as a preparation for the sanctuary, the wildest thing has dropped in, and I will be doing a completely free 3-day event previewing what the sanctuary is like, what the experience is like, so that you can experience the healing magic. That's going to be later on in June of 2022. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and are in my newsletter community so that you can be alerted and so you can register once that free event is announced, so that you get your notifications to join me for the Meditate with Me live streams that I am going to be doing on Instagram and hopefully on YouTube. So with that, my friend, I wish you all the best. Take really good care. Again, don't be selfish, and rate, review, and share this podcast with everybody. We have work to do. Let's get to it. I want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge the amazing support team that helps make this podcast possible for you. Starting with Diego Velazquez, our podcast editor and the talented artist who created our custom music. Ana Olvina, my wonderful assistant who creates all of our beautiful graphics and the transcript of every episode, which you can find over at www.fierceauthenticity.com. Biana Sandich, who writes our amazing show notes and does it so well that I bet you couldn't tell it wasn't me. The talented Jillian at Epoxy Studios, whose photography is our cover art and pretty much every other curated image that you see of me on social media. My husband, who puts up with me when it's 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday night and I'm like, hey babe, I gotta record a podcast episode. Like right now. Is that okay? My higher power, whose divine wisdom flows through me to bring these messages to you. And last but not least, I want to thank you, my listener, so much for listening in. If you'd like to join the podcast support team, some ways you can do so are by rating and reviewing the podcast, sharing it with everyone you know, and, if possible, making a financial contribution through the link in the show notes so that you too can be part of the team elevating this podcast and making it possible to bring to other listeners like you. I'm sending you so much love, and we will be together again soon.